Ladies and gentlemen, just look up at me. If you're on the screen, just look up at me. We are born, we as human beings, does not matter if we are in the 21st century, we are still from the primate class. Our primitive brain has constantly been the dominant feature in us. And it has, since birth, for every human being, held them back. Not your parents, not your environment. It has flowed into your environment and your parents, but the primitive brain is conditioned to hold people back. The old caveman mentality. And so the amygdala, that in itself holds you from doing 99.9% of your work. And if you know how to nurture that and play with it, you will then understand how you can unfold yourself and unleash yourself. That amygdala, and what I keep telling people is, we need to move ourselves from this primitive brain to up here called the frontal cortex. And when we know how to do that, move from the primitive brain to the frontal cortex, guess what happens? Automatically transformation happens. Automatically breakthroughs happen. It's magic. And most people will say, how? If I know, I would be God. Honestly, I don't know, but it happens. From my 3 decades of experience, that's basically what I've driven. So the point of this exercise is, when we understand the character traits of the amygdala, when we understand the characteristics of the frontal cortex, and we understand certain patterns, chemistries, exercises, modalities that we put in between these two to create that bridge strong, we then are floating with the frontal cortex. And when we work with the frontal cortex, another third element needs to come into it, and it's called neuroplasticity. Let me just illustrate neuroplasticity in a simplistic form. Neuroplasticity, ladies and gentlemen, is like a little pot of dirt out there in the garden. Okay? What you normally do is you dig the dirt, you remove the weeds, you plant your seedlings, you water, fertilize, water, fertilize, water, fertilize. That water fertilize is called nurturing. You nurture that for a period of time. Could be 10 days, could be 30 days, could be 90 days. But that nurturing period allows that little seedling to blossom. Now, in the same way, your brain is sitting in a farmland in here. And that neuroplasticity needs to be nurtured similarly. What are you doing to nurture it? What are you doing to nurture that? Ask any of the members on the platform. They have something like 90 plus modalities, not one, not two, 90 plus modalities to tweak and turn to get this thing working. Not intelligence, to nurture your neuroplasticity. And when your neuroplasticity is nurtured, then there is a thing that comes in. You need to drive that frontal cortex to get traction. When the rubber meets the road, that's when traction happens. When traction happens, action happens. When action happens, breakthrough happens. So all of what I'm talking about is through this whole subject called neuroscience. I won't be touching on the others today. Those are 3